many of you over from Russo's brand. Just want to do a shout out to Russo and say thanks for the years of being on his networks and under his umbrella and platform. I learned so much, and I got to meet so many of you. And and it's a total shoot that I love you more than anything. And that's not just some person talking smack online to sound great or popular. I have such deep love for so many of you that have cared about me and my life for all these years. And you know what? Right back at you. Ditto to the 1000th percentage. Kevin, I know all about your family, your mom, your dad, your life, your work, your job. I talk to you every week. Diddy, Big Evil Pops, all you guys and girls. We've got so many great girls on Patreon and on different platforms. Like I pay attention and I love you and I see you and I thank you. So yeah, a lot of you love horror. Oh God, some of the posts that you put it triggers me. I can't even handle how gruesome. And I used to be a really big horror chick, but I think my brain is just works overtime these days. So I don't see as much horror as I used to because I'm OCD and I replay that tape in my head over and over and over. So sometimes I don't get to see a lot of the movies that I know that you all love, but you know, there's a few that were out as of late. I know Terrifier 3, Chris Jericho graced the silver screen in that movie. Ironically, our next guest, this gorgeous girl, she could be a horror girl. She could be a goth girl. She was a Hot Topic girl growing up. Her name is Nikolaj. She's the new lead singer for a rock band called Clozure, who just got off tour with Fozzy and Powerman 5000 and Tantric and all these bands that you know and love. We're just going to have a beautiful conversation, sit on down and be a fly on the wall and hear what's on in her world and with this band that's just blowing up everywhere. So I'm just so honored and so excited to bring her on because I love bringing on new talent for some of you, not for some of their supporters, but just a breath of fresh air, something new, a gorgeous, gorgeous girl, not only on the outside, but she's beautiful on the inside. Without further ado, Miss Nikolaj, lead front rocker of the band Clozure. Yay! Nikolaj and I were having a conversation before you all were invited to this live stream party. And she was saying that she is 100% Albanian. How did that work out? When did you move? Were you born here? Did you move here? I've got stories about Albanians. I know lots about Albanians. Really? Oh yeah,
Hopefully there's a good one because we're intense people.
Oh no, and you just said it. There's my favorite Starbucks down the block since I've been coming to Nashville. It's in between where I live now and the airport. There's this group of freaking Albanians, and they like take over the whole thing. And they don't drink alcohol. They because everybody else is sneaking in some in their coffees. But they get their Starbucks, girl, and then they sit there and play dominoes and. It's like the most. So I complain about them all the time. I'm like, this is not cool that people just come to sit and drink a coffee or a tea in peace, and they're pounding the tables and they're just like screaming at each other and they're intense, and I'm just like, I came to like calm down. So you said it, I didn't. Intense people. How does coming from such an intense culture, and tell us why it is, how does that help and aid you in rock music? I would assume that that's a huge plus and benefit.
Definitely is.
Start out with that.
So I'm first generation born in America, Albanian. My mom and dad were straight from Kosovo. My mom came to America when she was like 18, and my dad came to America when he was 11. But we're like so old fashioned, just the culture in itself, because it's like, I mean, Albanian is one of the oldest countries like known to man that like is still being used in modern day time. I mean, if you go into like the Indo-European book, like we're the only branch where we're our own country with our own language that's not like taking words from the Latin or Germanic or like so on so forth language. So the cool thing about that, it's like right next to Italy. So like Italy's here, Kosovo's here, Macedonia's here, Albania's here. And Albania and Kosovo used to be like together until like the Yugoslavia war in like 2002 when I was like barely existent. So
I was there. I went there.
Yes, it's a very intense culture. And my theory is because we've always been going through like lots of wars between like the Turkish Empire, the Serbian Empire, the Ottoman Empire. We kind of have like a chip on our shoulder where we feel like we're constantly fighting for freedom, I guess,
Okay.
or like
Sure.
fighting for our language and our culture to be known because it's thousands and thousands of years old, just like no one knows about us. And because I think there's only like 9 million Albanians in the world, we're very like clicky, not in a bad way, but just because like if we know that there's a coffee shop here or there and like this coffee shop has great coffee, but this coffee shop is okay coffee, so long as this coffee shop is owned by Albanians, we'll go and support just because they're fellow
Okay.
Albanians. So in a weird way, it kind of clicked with me because I I try very hard to be American and not be as intense as like my brothers and my parents. So day to day, I'm very chill. But in a weird way, it definitely channels through my music because that's the reason why I wrote Devil Effect and Nevermore and all of these intense, like really passionate songs. And I think it's honestly because I'm Albanian. And my bandmates always make fun of me for it because I'm constantly feeding them. Or if I'm pissed off, you know it. And if I'm very happy, you know it. So like our personalities are in general intense, but I think a lot of people are shocked to find out that we're very like welcoming and very loving. It's just when you hear our language and you know the way we dress in like dark monochromatic colors because like that's kind of the style of us, and you see our intense personality, people think we're mean until they get to know us and then they realize that like we're actually very chill people. But I get nervous when people hear about me being Albanian because they either think it's like Russian or something, which they're known for
Oh,
intense, or they think it's like Middle Eastern, which they're known for intense. But then when they find out it's Albanian, we're like the most intense of intense. And I'm like, I swear to God, dude, I'm totally chill. I've had like a bunch of boy cousins and like boy brothers. So like I've been like the chill little baby girl. But it shows. It definitely shows. I love it. I think it works for me in the sense that we're very big on community and family. And my
very much
band and
so.
I, them being like veterans, even when you're like a veteran, you kind of have like this like oath to like the people that you're close to. And so they very much have like a very family bond. So the combination of being backed up by a band full of veteran men and then being Albanian, it kind of goes like hand in hand. But I think it's working for me so far in the rock industry. I know that there's a lot of female pop Albanian artists like Dua Lipa and BB Rexa and Rita Ora, but I think it helps with our like hard work ethics because we all come to America with the dream of being something. My dad came, 40 something years ago and opened up a bunch of restaurants with his brothers and they didn't even graduate high school. Or my brothers all own their own like little pizzeria shops and stuff. So we all have this mentality of like, we're not at war anymore. So now we have to like make something of it. And that's hopefully what I'm going to do with the band eventually.
That's real. And then you keep saying veterans as in they're veterans OGs of the band, or they're actual like fighting
They're actually
military.
Army veterans.
Okay.
Every one of them has been in the Army. My lead guitarist Cordell is been in the Army for like over 20 years, and he still works with the Army as like an officer. Matt, his dad was in the Army, and he wasn't in the Army, but he did like a lot of boot camps and like was raised in an Army family. Zach was in the Army for 4 or 5 years, and then Mike was in the Army, left the Army, now works for Boeing doing Hitachi. So they're either involved or still in it to some degree. And I think that's maybe where their work ethics and family kind of came from, because you kind of have to like, respect your kin and back up your kin. And they definitely have that mentality.
What part of town do you live in? You don't have to disclose exactly, but like what area are you in now?
I'm in Orlando, Florida. My
Oh, okay,
bandmates
okay,
are
okay.
like everywhere else.
Yep. But you're doing a ton of dates, and let's talk about that. Before that, let's do dates, and then we'll do Devil Effect and some of the music that, because you're saying that you're writing it, so you're coming in. We'll do dates in a second. You're coming in to a band that was around for how long, and they had a male vocalist for a while. How long have you been in the band, and how long were they in existence before you were a part of it? I was doing some research, but I just wanted to hear it from your mouth.
Yeah, it's very different. So the band I think has existed since like 2012, if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken. I'm not great with the time frames that I'm not
Okay.
involved in, and that sounds ridiculous,
Nope,
but
that's okay.
they've been around for a minute. They've had like 2 or 3 male vocalists, and it's something that they always wanted to work and hard on. Versus me, I've only been in like one real band prior. Any other projects that I did, I was just like a young 18, 19-year-old girl doing cover songs with her friends or going to like karaoke shows.
Hmm.
But when I left my old band, or when I got kicked out of my old band, ironically, I didn't think I was going to do rock music for a while. I was actually steering to go possibly towards like the dark.
You're here.
I'm here, yeah.
Ooh, dark. Yeah, no, I said you're here. I just put you on solo so we can see your
Oh,
face.
oh, it's fine. I was thinking about going to the dark pop realm, or possibly even just quitting music in general, because it sounds very dramatic. But when you go through your first breakup, you feel like your whole entire world is going to end. And I think that is with anything, whether it's like a personal relationship or even like a band project. So I was being melodramatic, and then our manager now, but their manager at the time, Nolan with MK Music, kind of already saw me perform with my old band and was like really curious as to if I was looking for like a new band to work with. And um, he messaged me and was like, "Hey, would you be interested?" When I heard their old music, they definitely had like a southern twang, kind of like hard rock to them. You could definitely tell that they were mostly based out of Alabama. And it wasn't that I was unsure, but I didn't know what to make of it or what to do with it. And they originally didn't want a female vocalist. They were kind of like against the concept. They were like, "Absolutely not. Why would we get a female vocalist? Like that's weird." But
Aw.
yeah, it was interesting. And so we went on FaceTime and they talked to me, and then they realized how straightforward I was. And am I allowed to cuss on this stream or
Oh,
no?
absolutely. No,
Oh,
absolutely.
so they basically
Many,
saw I
many
was like a
people do.
no. Okay, cool. So they basically saw that I was like a no bullshit kind of person. And I think they
Oh, that's
weren't
your
expecting
swearing?
that. What'd
That's
you
your
say?
swearing that you're gonna work? That's your big swear? Shit.
Well, I don't know what the words are allowed on things. And I do say like
I have to blurp it
shit
out.
and fuck a
So
lot.
here's the thing.
So
No, I have to go into the I guess you get demonetized on a lot of platforms. Yeah, so maybe we just like
keep it low.
hold up a finger like just do this or something like that so that we can express yourself. But I guess they demonetize you on a lot of it because I'm on some pretty big thingy do's here. I guess they demonetize you when you never know. There's a different election. Maybe things are different now. I'm not getting into that. I'm just saying, do your thing. Okay, so female vocalist, keep going. They weren't sure they wanted one, and
They weren't sure they wanted one. We met for the first time on like a Zoom chat. I think it was last year in September, and we clicked. And then me and the guitarist and me and the drummer kept talking over and over again. And next thing you know, I'm flying out late September to like Alabama to meet a bunch of dudes that I have no idea who they are and what am I going to create with them. And this was the first like time I've ever done anything like it, because prior to this band, my only experience was the one band I was in for 4 years. So we flew to Alabama, and within the first day, I was hanging out with our manager Nolan and my two guitarists, and I wrote half of the Devil Effect. It was just like
nice.
within an hour or two. It was insane. And so we decided, like after 2 or 3 practices, okay, cool, I'm in the band. But then we needed to find a bassist. We found the bassist literally in November or October. And
God,
then in
good luck.
November, we went to Nashville and we worked with Malcolm Springer, which I believe we were all a little nerve wracked because, I mean, the guy's Grammy nominated. He has a lot of really good albums and artists underneath his belt. And so it was just kind of hitting us really hard how they met me in September. We met our bassist in October. And next thing you know, November, we're recording 4 singles. And we've only really known each other as a band for 2 months, but maybe in person for like 5 days. And I mean, the rest is kind of history. We just kind of clicked. You know, we became closer and closer. And then our first tour ever was early March. It was like a 4-day run. And that was really going to be the testament of like if the band was meant to be together or not. Our bus broke down. We were long hauling our shows in like 2 SUVs. I mean, it was not a fun or pretty tour. And we managed to get closer. And the next thing you know, we toured with Powerman 5000, Tantric, and Sponge. And then our last tour was just with Fozzy and Nocturnal Affair. And the more and more we do it, the more and more we're comfortable. But I think
Who's
we
getting
hit
you
our.
all that, girl? That's amazing. Like, is your manager Nolan, like, is he pretty key on that? Because he seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, our manager Nolan, he's pretty good at that. We have a new booking agency now, Full Circle Entertainment, that's been helping us out, and we actually have a lot of different people starting to join the crew. I guess, the
Love it.
Clozure crew. But all of it's been mostly like good word of mouth and Nolan shopping us. Like, you have no idea. But I mean, we're just beyond thankful. I mean, to think that our first year anniversary, I would like to say it was the day that we all met for the first time in November. Or yeah, it was November 20th, I think. To me, I feel like that was our 1 year anniversary. Just because even though I got to talk to the bandmates over webcam and whatnot, until we had all of us in one room, I mean, you're not really a band just yet. I mean, you're a band when you get to feel the emotions play and when you get to actually play all of your instruments together. And that really didn't happen until last year around this time. And we're just beyond blessed. We're blessed and extremely grateful that it's going this well. Because a year ago, if you would have asked me, I was like, screw rock and roll, I'm done. But I mean, here we are.
How did you get the call for Clozure? How did you get in?
I didn't try really. I was just being really angsty and writing and singing music on Instagram and putting it on like Instagram Reels and whatnot. I think I did a cover of Decode by Paramore that initially caught Nolan's eye. And it was just like a simple quote that I put out to like all my friends and like family and fans, because I never made a statement about why me and my last band broke up. And I didn't really necessarily want to make a statement because I felt like I had nothing really to speak. I was just kind of in shock and extremely unhappy with like how the situation was left. So I just wrote like I just did like the simple chorus of like Decode, how did we get here? When I used to know you so well, which was like the words that I felt at the time. And I still said, don't worry, everybody, I'm still singing. And that was the one video. Nolan saw it. And the one band member in my band that really didn't want to sing her the most was my drummer, Mike. And he really was like not keen to it. But when he got to see that one raw song where I'm not edited, I'm not auto-tuned, you can tell that it was shot with the camera and shot with the phone and uploaded with the phone. He was like, oh wow, she's actually got some like vocals and some like real emotion to her. And that's kind of how it all happened. Because my drummer, Mike, even though we're so freakishly close now, he was the guy that was like, absolutely not. I don't want a girl in the band. I don't want to deal with the monthly. I don't want to deal with her needing more time to get dressed in the mornings. But he saw the video and he was like, wait a minute, she's actually like legitimate. Because we all agree that we're emotional, artists. We don't necessarily write to sound like what people want us to sound on the radio, nor do we write to trends. We just write to what we're going through. And he liked the idea that I wasn't singing pretty necessarily, but I was singing with raw emotion. So Nolan found that video and sent it to the bandmates, and they're like, let's just give it a shot.
That's a really cool story. We've got a lot of people on this platform. I don't know if you know or not, but I'm in the pro wrestling world for a long time. So we've got a lot of people watching and listening. This gorgeous, gorgeous Nikollaj, Albanian rock and roll hardcore singer. And she just got off of a tour that ended in October with Fozzy, with Cris Jericho's band. Let's talk a little bit about that and your experience and how that was, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, I'm sure you've got some great things to say. And then we don't normally talk a lot of shit on this podcast, but you can definitely, if there's like a funny story or something, especially with Cris and fellow workers, wrestlers. Yeah, let's talk about that tour and just some good memories and some things that maybe surprised you. And how did you get that? What happened? How did it come to be? Let's rewind a little bit back to the end of the tour or the beginning of the tour, wherever you want to take us to.
So the way we got into the tour, I think, was our manager hit up the manager for Cris Jericho, because Cris Jericho's manager and Fozzy's manager, he does like both of them, him separately as an entity and then like him as a band. And so we managed to pick up that tour, and it's a big deal for me because something interesting to know is Albanians are really big in wrestling. I don't know why, but like all my cousins did wrestling. My nephew does wrestling. So, and I'm talking about like Greco and like regular on the mats wrestling. But then I remember being raised on WWF when it was like WWF. So to hear that I was going to go on tour with the band and like actually get to talk to Cris Jericho, my brothers were so beyond jealous because they literally raised me on it. I didn't have an option of like on TV. Like I couldn't choose the remote. I'm 27. My brothers are like 43 and 44. So my whole entire life has just been whatever mom, dad, and then my two older brothers wanted to watch on TV.
Love it.
And hence where my obsession with like wrestling and showmanship and, you know, horror nostalgia came into play, because those were the two things that my brothers always watched. So when I found out that we were going to tour with Chris Jericho, it was a really big deal, because my brothers basically like grew up on him. There's this one wrestler called Eddie Guerrero. He passed, unfortunately, but like my brother John got to meet his daughter, and like he was like literally losing his mind, because he was like, I watched your father this and this times. And it was a really beautiful moment when I got to see her talk to my older brother about her father that like she doesn't get to remember much, because he had so many photos and like different stories about how awesome his dad was and everything. And so in a weird way, she got a token of like memories that like my brother held for so long, that now she finally got to enjoy, that she never heard stories about. And so the wrestling community, oh my God, I'm getting chills. The wrestling community is very interesting in the sense that people, when they fall in love with a character or just the performance art of in itself, they become diehard fans. I mean, my first crush was like The Undertaker. And that says a lot about me as like a little girl, because I just thought he was so cool and scary. And I remember Kane and, you know, John Cena and The Rock and, you know, whoever, but I loved Goldtaker, Kane, or Undertaker, Kane, Goldust. I don't know why I loved him. I named my snake after him because I had an albino python, and I was like, I'm gonna name him Goldust. So it was a really big aha moment for me and my family. And I think my band members were excited, but I don't think they realized the die-hard mentality that the fans will have. So we were all very curious as to see like what they were gonna take of us. But I mean, the fans were absolutely sweet. I think they were almost even nicer than the tour before, and I have no complaints over that tour. And everybody in the Fozzy team is probably, I mean, literally everybody in the Fozzy team are like the most down-to-earth, chill, like-minded people. I've never met a crew or just a team in general that is like so beyond opening. Like they're very open, and if you have any questions or if you need any help or if you need to borrow a light for your merch table, they're the first ones to offer it up. I mean, like literally they operate like a family, and it was the sweetest thing ever. I know I took my nephew on a couple show dates on the weekend. I told him he was allowed to come to tour and see Chris Jericho perform if he helped us load up our merch and load down our merch. And he's 13, so he freaked out and was like, absolutely, because he's a lot like me, and I raised him on wrestling just like his dad raises him on wrestling, and he does Greco wrestling and whatnot. And we are really big on to like scary movies. So Terrifier 1 and 2 I've already watched with him. Should have I allowed my like then 10-year-old, 11-year-old, you know, nephew to watch it? Probably not, but you know, we're tough people, so we can handle it. So for him to meet not only Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho that was in Terrifier 2 with Terrifier 3 coming out, he was losing his mind. And next thing you know, I got Chris Jericho's number. I messaged him on Instagram. And this goes to show how amazing of a guy he is, and I love telling the story. I messaged him on Instagram, and I'm like, hey, if it's possible, could I sneak my nephew into like the VIP after show or pre-show, just so we can see you perform and, you know, see you up and close and maybe get a photo with you? And he was like, forget that. Here's my number. Text me. So now I'm freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, I can text Chris Jericho. And I'm texting Mr. Jericho, hi, this is Nikolai. Like, you know, I'm the singer of Clozure. Is there a way that I can let my nephew? And he goes, don't even worry about it. I'm walking over to your merch table right now. Wow. And I mean, none of the stages were set up. There wasn't even like the backdrop for like the VIP photo set up. And my nephew is like bringing up and down these boxes, and he's kind of in an attitude because he's 13 and he's doing work on the weekend. And all of a sudden Jericho comes from behind him. He goes, hey kid, what's your name? And he turns around and just looks at Chris Jericho, and his mouth drops. And he talked to my nephew, and he was talking about Terrifier 3, whatever he was allowed to say before it ever was released, and took photos with my nephew. And he was the coolest guy from that point on. I mean, him, Rich, his guitarist, literally everybody, even their like merch guy, Damien, and like their sound guy, you know, Trent, they were just the coolest people ever. I mean, I have no shit to talk about the show other than the fans were really cool, and they were very responsive, and they knew what it's like to be in a stadium full of wrestlers. So they operated the same way in a show full of rock and rollers. They chanted, they screamed, they wanted to be involved. They were very welcoming people. I mean, I would stay near my merch table, and the amount of hugs and people like even lifting me up to hug me because there was other pro wrestlers there or people that wanted to be wrestlers. I mean, a lot of jacked people, a lot of really buff people there. But I mean, just the whole entire like community was awesome. And I think we thought Powerman 5000 was going to be a favorite, and then we joined the Fozzy show, and we're like, oh, never mind, we might have a one-up.
Wow. That's great to hear that you had such awesome experiences with everybody,
Yeah,
but let
no.
alone Fozzy. Chris is a great
Dude, they were
guy.
dope.
He paid his dues. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That just makes me so happy. Your manager, I asked him for some speaking points so that if there is any of this that you want to cut up into reels or things to use for your benefit, let's go ahead and hit those since we're heading towards the end of our time. We respect yours, and then we've got another guest joining us. So we've
Okay.
got 2 national tours, first with Powerman 5000, Sponge and Tantric from AZ to Maine and down to New Jersey. So how about we just do 60 seconds or less? Let's talk about what it was like touring with, I'll set it up. So Nikolai, let's talk about what it was like touring with Powerman 5000.
The Powerman 5000 was a very interesting tour. Our bus broke down like 3 times. Arizona runs 100 degrees. In Maine, we performed at an airport and at a bridal, suite kind of barnyard situation. But the people there really know how to have fun. Powerman, like day after day, night after night, performs like no other. I mean, they're full of energy.
Cool.
And I think it was a learning lesson for our band to really get to know each other, because that was the first tour that we were really stuck in a bus for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. So it was definitely a learning process and an interesting process.
I love it. Let's do another one. Let's do what is something incredibly positive that you can say about touring with Powerman 5000?
They are really good showmanship people, and they're all about giving pointers to each other and also
Nice.
watching each other's sets. And that's pretty cool, because not all bands do that.
That's very not surprising, but you're right. Not all bands do that. That's great to hear. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
We punch. Okay, let's do. And for people listening, just deal with it. We're gonna just do it like this. I'm not gonna edit all of this out. You can be flies on the wall. You can be behind the scenes. She's already done her podcast. When we have guests on, I think it's a really great idea that actually just thought of this today talking with her manager, because her manager was so passionate about doing things to help the band, to help her, to help everybody across the board. And y'all know that we chop this stuff up and make bite-sized pieces. So here's us producing it right now. You can hear it. Like I said, deal with it. Fozzy's 25th anniversary tour that just ended in October 21. Let us hear in a minute or less an amazing memory, which you kind of just told us about. Was it your cousin or your brother?
It was my cousin and it was my nephew and my brother. I
Okay.
dragged my brother around for a couple shows too.
I want to hear the top moments of touring with Fozzy.
I would say our top moment to tour with Fozzy was probably Machine Shop. It's not as personal as, let's say, Chris Jericho coming to say hello to my nephew, but it was the first show that I got to get the whole entire crowd to chant the chorus of The Devil Effect. And it was also a really dope show because I got to talk to all the Fozzy members afterwards, and we all stayed at the Machine Shop until like 1 or 2 in the morning. And not only was it cool to have the audience members chant back to you or to be able to talk to the owner and the Fozzy team, but just the shop in itself. Like Machine Shop is such a notable place. Everyone wants to be there at least once in their life. So to play there the second time in a row in 1 year and it be with Chris Jericho's 25th anniversary, I think that was like a special moment.
Love it. Okay, let's talk about getting signed to Wake Up Music. So let's talk about 60 seconds or less. Let's talk about getting signed to Wake Up Music. What is that all about? What does it look like? When did it happen?
It happened, I think, like a month ago. It was during when we were on tour. The process was actually really easy. I mean, she literally just handed us a contract and was extremely transparent and honest. And I don't think every artist gets to have a moment like that where they get to talk to a record label and they're not possibly getting screwed by a 360 deal, you know? But Pepper's an absolute sweetheart. and she seemed to be
What is
extremely
up, my
excited
golden
to
peeps?
not
Don't
only
forget to
be
join us
our,
next week for part
label,
2
but to also
of
be on
Goldy's
our team
Closet.
and be part
Stay
of the family
golden.
and really work hard towards it. And we're actually releasing a song with her November 15th, literally this month. It's going to be our first music video, our first single with her, and we're beyond excited.
Can't wait to see that and hear it.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the next one.
Actually, the
Get
whole
it.
music video for Criminal Mind is shot on tour with Fozzy, and we recorded it ourselves. And then my good friend and lead singer of Magnolia Park is the one who edited all of it. We actually have a cover song of Bring Me to Life from Evanescence with Josh from Magnolia Park. So it's really cool because it's very raw and you get to really see us kind of bullshit on tour.
Which you hit my next point, but I didn't set it up for you. So 60
Oh,
seconds
sorry.
or less. Don't be sorry. Nikolai, you have a new single coming out, Criminal Mind, coming out in just a few days. Give me the backstory.
Criminal Mind, we wrote it like a couple months ago. It was the first song that we've ever written as a band, like the first few. We did not realize we were going to release Criminal Mind with Wake Up Music at first, and we found out last minute that she wanted that song to be released next. So we literally shot our whole entire music video at New York City Times Square or at the different like events. Our live shot performances are not rehearsed. It's literally just us on tour with Jericho on the Fozzy 25th anniversary. And then our last single that was released was a cover of Bring Me to Life with Evanescence. And the male singer is Josh from Magnolia Park. He's actually editing the video. So by watching this video, you get to really see us on tour, on stage live. It's my best friend and my merch girl shooting the shots, and it's my other best friend Josh with Magnolia Park editing it. So it's very much in-house. And I'm excited to show it to everybody.
Can't wait to see it. Cut on to the next one. Let's do our last thing, the new endorsement with International Spice Company. Tony who? Shasher? How do you say it?
Sachere.
Sachere?
Yeah, I've been saying Cashere, but it's Sachere.
Sachere. Okay. All right. Tony Sachere. Let's talk about your new endorsement with Tony Sachere's International Spice Company. What's that all about?
It's a very interesting endorsement. Aside from the fact that my family owned restaurants, so I know how to cook a lot, and so I was excited for a spice company to endorse us. But we played the Gettysburg Festival on our first tour, and they sponsor bands like Scotty Austin, and I believe they sponsored Saliva, and Drowning Pool was playing that day. And I think I was talking to like one of the managers or like the executives. Our manager Nolan knew some of the people from Tony Sachere's. They got to see us not only perform, but then I actually got to go on stage with Drowning Pool and sing their outro song, Bodies Hit the Floor, or Bodies.
I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. That was an aha moment for me. Little Hot Topic girl me was losing my mind. But it was basically like a culmination of the worlds like colliding. And they were already sponsoring artists from that festival, and they saw us and they wanted to work with us. And the next thing you know, we kind of got the sponsorship. And it's pretty cool because a majority of my bandmates are from like Alabama or Louisiana, and they're Louisiana based. So when it comes to like flavor and spices, like we're not, we're very used to the concept of that. So it just kind of fit. We said, sure, why not? We use it. We used it on tour. I kept putting it on my ramen noodle soup.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We've got the band on the cover of Sound 228 magazine. There's a lot of really amazing people on that cover. How did that come to be?
So Kevin, he's on the Sound 228. He also has a production company. I believe it's Full Circle Entertainment, and we just signed to them for our booking. I feel like there's just so much news to give out, and I feel bad because I don't mean to just name drop people, but I'm doing it.
That's what you're doing, girl. That's what we're here for. Don't feel bad. Never feel bad about that.
But Kevin, he's a sweet guy. He signed us to his booking agency, and he also worked with Sound 228 heavily. And I guess they just really showed interest in us, and they wanted us to be on the cover. I think we were in the top 30 charts for over 35 weeks or so. I mean, since The Devil Effect was out, we have been on the charts. And then at one point, we actually had The Devil Effect and Nevermore on the same top 30 chart that they have for Sound 228. So we've just been really cool with, that whole entire station in general, and the whole music community that they've based. And we even did their live show, the Dirty 30 Fest. And so they asked us to be on the cover, and we said, hell yeah. So we're going to be on the Christmas cover in December, I believe.
Absolutely amazing. Congratulations. Well, my dear, Goldy's Closet, episode 254. We've got the lead singer of the band, Clozure, who just got off tour with Fozzy, with Cris Jericho's band. They're doing amazing things. She's hot, she's gorgeous, she's dark, she loves horror, and she loves wrestling. So for all of you listening and watching, I know a multitude of you came over from Russo's brand. We want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for always tuning in and giving a shit. I appreciate you and love you. We're going to close, and we're going to ask everybody out there to always stay safe, but be free. Read between the lines on that one, and always stay golden. And then we clap at the end, and I better see you do it, because some of the guys, I don't really think they're too good to do the Muppet Show, but I want to see you clap. Come on, girl. Woo! Thanks for your time. It was awesome getting to know you. What's up, everyone? It's Goldy, Impact Wrestling, TLC's Cheapskates. Ted Nugent's running wild from him somewhere in the woods. And maybe you've seen our band, Goldilocks Band. We're out there, we're on tour, but now we're connecting on Cameo. So I want to tell you that I am here to be your humble servant, and that's whatever you need said for you, for a friend, a shout out, a golden shout out, you name it, here and on it. Now, just reminding you, keep it classy, keep it cool, and keep it above the belt. But I want to offer you something a little bit different. Just remember, if I'm not on the road and I've got access to these next beauties, we can always have Da-da-da-dum. I want to make this the most amazing experience for you ever, because you deserve it. Your friends deserve it. Your loved ones deserve it. And just remember, I can sing you a few lines of a song. It can be from anywhere, like it can be from Somewhere Over the Rainbow, or it could be near, far, wherever you are. It could even be on a highway to hell. It can even be from there. Oh, and keep in mind, not all requests are the same. Maybe your motivation comes with a harder edge. Maybe you need a more jagged little pill. There's nothing that I love more than playing the heel. So if you need your message delivered with more, what's the word I'm looking for? Intention? Please specify. Can't wait to connect with you on Cameo. Thanks so much for being here. Stay golden.